From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
The government of the United States, federal government, it's been a long, harrowing time arguing over the specifics of what we call the coronavirus relief government funding bill. One thing that may be surprising to a lot of people who haven't really drilled into this stuff before, or to a lot of people who are not from the U.S., is that our legislative branch has this ridiculous, cartoonish habit of tacking extra shit onto a bill that has nothing to do with the purpose of the bill. How far does this go? This goes so far that you could, for instance, say you and codename Doc and Matt and Noel and I are all part of Congress. We're a Congress of 5, right? And one of us says, hey, it is literally raining cats and dogs. We need to make a raining cat and dog bill to combat the massive damage that's happening with all these dogs and cats hitting the sidewalk. And then someone says, well, we could pass this, but I also want a subsidy for toe cream. And it has to pass that way. Like, that's the example, right?
It does feel a lot like that, Ben. Like just something completely out of the blue has to go in the bill or else it's dead. That's not poison pill necessarily. Could be a poison pill.
Isn't it like it's like you give me what I want, I give you what you want, sort of. Even though if the thing that we want is something that everybody wants. It always struck me as a little disingenuous and kind of bizarre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you're a member of Congress, you're always kind of pitching. Everything you do is ideally a pitch to your constituents for why they should elect you the next time your election comes up. And so to solidify their base, many members of Congress are like, let's take this bill for making a national explosions in the sky holiday, and let's tack on something that is a subsidy for the munitions factory in my constituency. I
thought you meant the band.
I did mean the band.
I think you did. Yeah. Ben is a secret post-rock fan, which I just recently found out. I mean, you've mentioned them occasionally for your study listenings because they're instrumental, but I recently found out Ben and I have been a member of the same post-rock Facebook group for many years.
That's amazing.
And I had no idea. I did want to add, I like this idea of a Congress of 5. I feel like we'd get a hell of a lot more done than the current setup. Just putting that out there.
And 5, now that we think about it, is great because there won't really be a deadlock, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Our only constituents being our wives, girlfriends, or children.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine how corrupt they would become and how quickly?
Oh God,
just because
no.
the amount of money that would be shoved at 5 singular people's faces.
Oh, you're right. We wouldn't let anybody know who they are. Completely anonymous. Only we did just let the cat out of the bag. But no, my God, Ben, please continue with this. I'm fascinated.
Well, this practice has happened again. The coronavirus relief and government funding bill was signed into law in December by Donald Trump. As you know, it doesn't have a lot of stuff that various Congress members or various factions of their constituencies wanted, right? Like a lot of other countries are getting, like our northern neighbors, I think we're getting up to $2,000 a month for the duration of the pandemic. The big hot button issue on the table for a lot of households in the U.S. was whether there should be any kind of monetary or financial relief for the millions who are unemployed or facing hardship. And if so, what that one time or that second stimulus should look like, 600 or 2K, I think were the big numbers. But this bill included something else. Of course it did, because it's the U.S. Congress. It doesn't matter who's in power. There's never going to be a bill that's just about the bill. It's like if you're in a bad relationship, the fight is never really about the fight. It's about something else. You know what I mean? And those dirty dishes are kind of like a metaphor for all the ways you resent each other over the years. I'm sorry, that description probably just ruined someone's day. But this is not
Definitely
as
hits it home. Thanks, Ben.
but this is not as ruined. That wasn't aimed at anybody in specific. That's just my poor writing skills. But this one, this extra thing that was tacked on, one of them is not as ruinous as that horrible relationship example. For some reason, this COVID relief bill began a 180-day countdown for the U.S. intelligence agencies, all of them, to tell Congress everything they know about UFOs, or, as we know, what they prefer to call them, unidentified aerial phenomena. So, yes, we're going to be a nation. We're going to try to survive the pandemic as a nation, but also while we're at it, let's say that you have to tell Congress what the hell's going on. Because remember, the armed forces spent millions of dollars researching this, and it's not something that's ever been presented in totality to Congress. Pretty nuts. I'm not sure why there's a 180-day thing. I think that might just be time for them to collate all their information and cross-check and fact-check, etc. You can read about this in CNN. You can read about it in Vice. They have a good article about this. It also puts in something else. It doesn't say just give us this one-time report. If you want to read it, it's buried in the committee comment section of the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2021, which is also inside this massive spending bill. So it's a stipulation. It's like you're going into the liner notes of a really detailed, like one of those special collector's edition vinyls that has the whole discography of something. And
they're like $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's this long printed documentary or oral history thing, and you find like one liner note, and you're like, and it's like, this was, shortly after Mick Jagger was kicked out of NASA. And you're like, wait, what? And so the Rolling Stones began. But that's not true, I don't think. But this one also puts in this process. It says there needs to also be an interagency process for ensuring timely data collection and centralized analysis of all unidentified aerial phenomenon reporting for the federal government. Designate an official responsible for that process, identify whether any of these UAPs are national security threats, and explicitly say whether any of the nation's known adversaries could be behind this. And the submitted report has to be unclassified. So this has been confirmed by Snopes. This has been confirmed by CNN, by multiple sources. It's going to happen. For all the ufologists or UFO enthusiasts in the crowd, the countdown has begun. My first question for you guys, do you think this will actually happen?
So I'm just reading about this for the first time, Ben. According to what I'm seeing, this is all contingent on whether or not the executive honors this request, and whether or not the administrations among the administration, which is the executive, as well as all these other military personnel at all, who are part of the Air Force, the Navy, and all these other places, whether or not they actually cooperate to get this information out there and get it declassified. So it's like there's an order to do it, but you still got to get everybody to actually do the thing, even though there's this, they're calling it a request. It's more of an order, it feels like.
Yeah. It's phrased as an order with several different things that could go wrong, or it's sort of structured as one. Mm-hmm. This is being put, it might surprise some people who haven't had their eyes on this. This whole thing is being pushed by Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
He is the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And now they want this to happen, but we also, any ufologist in the U.S. can assure us that there have been multiple statements, kind of off-the-cuff statements of various presidential candidates, it's usually while they're running for president. They say, okay, and also one other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out this UFO stuff. I'm going to get it released. Bill Clinton said that. I can't remember what George Bush said in that matter. But a couple of other folks, even Donald Trump at one time may have said this. They've said that when they're going into office or when they're running for office, but when they're actually in office, it takes a back seat or a back burner because there's a lot of stuff to think about when you're president, I assume.
Yeah, and there's always the much assumed conversation that any executive coming into office has with the intelligence community. That's basically, you can't look behind those doors. You can't know what's back there for your own safety and for national security.
Oh, the old, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but there's an old joke that changes depending on which industry of the U.S. government you're in or which genre, which branch. It goes, let's do it with the president. So it goes like this. There's a guy who's elected to be the president. And on the day of his first real day on the job, he goes in the Oval Office and he asks the outgoing president for any advice. And the outgoing president says, well, I left 2 envelopes on the desk. And if anything really screwy or terrible happens, no matter how it happens, just open that first envelope and you'll know what to do. And so they say, okay. And then, like a year or 2 passes in their term and things get really dicey. Something terrible happens. Maybe it's this current president's fault. And so they open the top right drawer of the desk or whatever, and they take out the first envelope and they open it. And the envelope just says, blame it on me. And it's signed by the other president. And so they go on television and on the networks of the circuits and they say, it was the other guy. Mm-hmm. And then boom, their ratings are back up. They're on to year 3. Toward year 4, something goes wrong again. Very, very wrong. And this president says, okay. And they open the second envelope and they think, all right, what am I, first time it worked? And they read the second envelope and it says, write 2 letters and find 2 envelopes. And that's it. And it makes you wonder, like, is that the kind of situation we get in when we're talking about how these reports get released or who is accountable for the release of these and the various ways that these could go wrong? And then, of course, the argument that all of this UFO release stuff that's come out, because there has been a lot. There's the argument that all of it is a distraction from ongoing domestic affairs, which I don't know what to think about that. I mean, what do you guys think? Because a lot of the stuff that's being released is not new by any means.
Yeah, but it's nice to be able to have access to it all in one place, like from an official source, right? As opposed to just kind of piecemealing it together from various reports and dribs and drabs on the internet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Look, I'm never going to not think disclosure is coming until it comes, okay? So
I had a really good conversation with a very smart friend of mine. We kind of hang out every month or so and just kind of chat about life stuff. And, he's into conspiracy theories. He listens to the show. And he just doesn't think it makes sense logistically, the idea of disclosure. Like he was sort of like, just what we know about science and the way time works and the way distance works, it just doesn't. He doesn't see it. And I kind of was on the same page as you, where I'm like, oh, all this new stuff is coming out. I feel like we're on the edge of it. And he just kind of poo-pooed it, took the weight out of my sails a little bit. But then I started thinking about what he was saying, and I kind of feel that side of it too. I don't know. What are your thoughts in terms of the logistics of disclosure, or the logistics of actual alien contact?
It's all good, dude. Your friend just doesn't know that the aliens actually are from Earth, and they live inside the Earth.
Snap.
And there's no distance required.
That's a season 6 spoiler. Yeah, the thing is that the math is nigh impossible if we are assuming conventional rules of time and space. And I think we've talked about this before. The same math that makes it a statistical certitude that we would have other life in the universe is also the same math that makes it virtually impossible that we would ever meet. Mm-hmm. Just the time and the space involved. But if those rules don't always apply, then it's an entirely different conversation. Or if there's, to Matt's point, if there is something that is closer to home than we imagine, then we could find ourselves in a very different conversation. For the longest time, one of the most plausible answers has been suppressed technology built by Earthlings, because we know that happened in the past, and we know that other governments, including Uncle Sam, folks, those other governments were more than happy to take sightings of space age bombers and stuff and be like, oh yeah, that's an alien.
Yeah,
I guess you're right.
It's definitely not us or ours. Nope.
No, I mean, who would build a flying black triangle?
This reminds me of the old urban legend / horror story. The call was coming from inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm of course, I'm joking about the concept of extraterrestrials being terrestrial and all of that. Although unidentified submerged objects will always have a place in my heart. But just I think any light we can shed on this stuff is good light, because it will calm down somebody like me that is so excited and itching to get actual evidence if there's nothing there and we can, conventionally explain all of these things. But it'll also, I think in some weird way, I don't know. God, this sounds so just happy and hippie. But
go for it.
In some way, thinking about this stuff, even without the reports and all the info, just thinking about other life on other planets in some way brings us together to think about ourselves as one, about humanity and all that stuff. Ugh, I feel bad saying that, but it's kind of true.
Yeah, I feel you. And also, if I was going to design a T-shirt for this, I would say, who needs extraterrestrials when terrestrials are extra enough? I mean, it's not going to work. It's too
like
many
extra is in like a negative thing. Like, oh man,
terrestrials
they're
are
extra.
Extra. Yeah, I mean, we are. Look at this. Like, if you're any other form of life on the planet, honestly, fuck humans. They're the worst ones.
We're the worst ones. Yeah, that's why we can't have nice things.
That's why we can't have nice things. So the last bit of news on this, for anybody who's like, I don't want to wait 180 days. We live in uncertain, terrible times. The Middle East is a powder keg. Authoritarian governments also have nuclear weapons and are increasingly less hesitant to invade other places. I want to know how the movie ends now. Well, right now, officially, you can obtain every single declassified CIA document on UFOs. You can officially do it at a site that we have shouted out in the past, the Black Vault, which is a privately owned clearinghouse for declassified documents in general. But they have released a downloadable archive with PDFs containing all the CIA files on unidentified aerial phenomena. I'm not sure whether this includes USOs yet, Matt, but let's always hope while we can. Mm-hmm. Some of these reports date all the way back to the 1980s. This archive is the passion project of the founder of the Black Vault site, John Greenwald Jr., and we're looking at the result of around somewhere a little less or a little more than 10,000 different FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests. And this is the work of decades for this guy. So do check it out if you want to learn more. Be warned, this will have the notoriously moving, compelling language of a government agency. These aren't exactly page turners, is what we're saying. But what I would love to do is crowdsource this and get a sense from our fellow conspiracy realists over which of these reports, over whether there's a hidden diamond in the rough here. You know what I mean? Or a gem that corroborates with some other proven historical event. You know what I mean? Like the allegations of unidentified flying objects disabling nuclear weapons, things like that, right? So let us know, and let us know what other weird stuff you found in the COVID-19 stimulus bill, because it's 5,600 pages, you guys. There's all kinds of stuff in there. It's like an unedited Stephen King novel. Wait, all Stephen King novels are unedited.
Oh, it says a Stephen King fan. I love it.
Yeah,
It's
I'm a big
totally,
fan.
it's totally true. Really quickly, just know, in terms of like what these look like are they like footnotes, kind of, or like how, if you're actually looking at the documentation, how are they slipped in there? Like that's what I kind of want to know, without actually having to read the thing, because that sounds tedious and terrible.
Many of these are typed letters from way back when, and it's difficult to even see and decipher everything that's said in there, let alone, search a PDF, because they are all in PDF format. There's about 342 megabytes, I think, in the entire thing if you're going to download it. Some of it is the actual Freedom of Information Act, like letterhead or something, and then there'll be a black vault, a second header that tells you about that site, and then you'll get the document that's like 1 to X number of pages.
Yeah, and I think Noel, you might have you might have been referring to just how that slipped in congressionally in a relief bill.
Oh, sorry.
No. These are both very good questions. So, part of it is just that. Look, I'm not accusing anyone in specific of being disingenuous. Every Congress member has a staff, and their staff assists them with understanding what's going on in these bills. But this bill in particular is controversial because some members of Congress say that by the time it was finally shared with them, it was like a few hours before the vote. So how on earth was there time to read it and digest everything involved? And this kind of stuff happens quickly. The answer to how this can be squeezed in is that there's so much there that you can kind of Matryoshka doll a subheading into another subheading into another subheading into another subheading, and then by the way, aliens.
Well, yeah, and by its very nature, I think that the issue, there's a lot of issues with like parliamentary procedure and our government. It's by its very nature not transparent at all. Even the way these things get slipped in, it's like burying the lead. You know what I mean? We have to kind of dig to even find a semblance of what the hell's actually going on in some of these things, and that just seems wrong to me. But maybe it's like rewards those who like do the digging and do the homework, and it implies that if you don't care enough to like look, you shouldn't know. But that just seems wrong. I don't know.
That is wrong, because it is beyond right now. The level of information we're talking about, the level of information processing, is simply beyond the grasp of someone whose job who doesn't have the specific job of doing this every day. There's just no way. And there's no way a single person could read the entirety of the things that are being passed by Congress. At least that's why these staff members kind of divide and conquer. But we spent a lot of time on this. It hasn't happened yet. You have our word, folks, that if 6-ish months from now we figure out what's actually going on, if the badger does finally get out of the disclosure bag, then we are going to be all over it. We'll have a party. We'll have like a physical in-person UFO party somewhere cool. Dave and Buster's, I don't know. Let's fly out on the company dime to Area 51. It's either the beginning of a new world or the end of the old one. Who knows?